instead of everyone has to come and ask me everything, or everyone has to go and ask our operations director for everything. I can address 5 projects at a time. I would not be able to address 100, but with this system, I think we can.
Welcome to Mastering ServiceTitan, where we get expert advice from power users. I'm your host, Josh Liu, and today I'm joined by Jen Alonso, the Director of Sales and Marketing at Lowry Overhead Doors. This is her second appearance on the show. We got to record back at Pantheon last year, which was a blast. And today we're diving into projects in ServiceTitan. And so, Jen, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me back.
I'm so happy to have you back. Last time we talked about how to build a great relationship with your CSMs. We got to shout out some people on our team, all the good vibes. And today I'm really excited to talk about projects. But first, can you remind people about Lowry Overhead Doors, the company in general, and then what your role is there?
Yeah, so Lowry Overhead Doors, we're a mid-sized garage door company. We're based in Orem, Utah, just a little bit south of Salt Lake City, but we actually do garage doors for the entire state. So from the southern end to the northern end, we do it all. And we do exclusively garage doors. So we don't have any other trades that we do. And the director of sales and marketing for them, it's my, I think, 5th role of the company. And I've been there for just over 12 years now.
Wow, how many different other roles did you have at the company?
I actually started as like a sales secretary back in the day. So sales secretary, CSR, office manager, purchasing manager. Oh wait, there are more. Administrative director. So I did like all of our SOPs, and now sales and marketing. So 6.
Wow, 6 roles there. You've been in all parts of the business. One part we're going to dive into today is the commercial and construction side, because in our last time we talked, you said in 2024, that was about 2% of the business. The next year grew to 15. And then this year, you guys are shooting for 25. And so the big question is, what led to that growth and how did you all accomplish that?
A lot of credit goes. We have a commercial estimator, and she's just absolutely amazing. So at the beginning of 2025, setting goals. We came back from Pantheon, a partner I really inspired by everything we had learned about commercial construction, and kind of going, this maybe feels like a thing. We've done it before. It used to be very invitation only though. So a specific company would know us, our reputation, would reach out and like, will you please bid? Will you please do this? And so we did it on a really limited basis, but it's really hard to manage. It didn't make sense to us. None of us have any official degrees in construction management. So it just felt very confusing. And ServiceTitan, we started to learn. And so we thought, well, maybe we could tackle it. So we had suggested to our estimator that she go after a lot more of these bids. We kind of opened the gates and said, we'll support you. We'll give you the time, the hours you need. Please go for it. And she went, okay, but in the year, I'll make 15%. We went, oh, that's a wonderful goal. We're going to be happy if we're at like 5. 8 would be amazing. And we did. She went after these bids like crazy. I think she does probably like 30 a week. I mean, she is aggressive. And we just kept watching it just go up and up and up and up. And we got this little pie chart that we look at every week, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And so, yeah, she hit it almost exactly on the nose. It was like 15.01% at the end of last year. So she's really excited. So a lot of credit goes to her, but also a lot of credit goes to, we were able to learn because of ServiceTitan a better way to not only how to do the bids, but to understand them. All of the different portals and stuff that come with like commercial construction, the Procores and the Building Connected, those things that were so confusing now, we're like, oh, no, that makes sense. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, I have that. So it's made it a lot easier. It makes it feel like an attainable project, I guess. Projects.
There we go. Yeah, projects is a really big topic. And so there's a couple components I think we can dive into today. The application for payment process, as well as submittals. But before we go into there, is there anything people should know about projects before we dive too deep into the details?
So Pantheon 2024, right before I had said, I wish I could re-onboard with ServiceTitan. I wish I could onboard again, knowing what I know now. So we joined ServiceTitan in 2021, and it's been an excellent journey. It's been amazing. And just, we were talking and saying, oh, we wish we could re-onboard. And then projects came out. Be careful what you wish for. It really did. It revamped. I mean, we didn't re-onboard, but it felt like it. It was so much to set up. But it really was, as I mentioned, I was over like all of our standard operating procedures. It changed everything. Changed everything we did. Now it was needed. We needed to do it. But just be okay with it and just know that it is going to change everything. And that's scary, but it's okay because it's worth it in the end.
People listening are probably intrigued, like, oh, should I take on projects? It's a big project. But what kind of businesses do you think should take on projects, and what kind of businesses should not?
So the makeup of our company, when we looked back and we kind of got more into commercial construction, we realized that we had always identified as more residential because the actual, well, except for this 15%, but the actual work that we do is in a residential application. But we started to realize what we were missing is that it is commercial, not in the sense, because in garage doors, you have commercial operators and they're guided by, this has to be a commercial application. This is a commercial operator. This is a commercial garage door versus a residential. And I know other industries are like that, but ours is very distinct and unique. And so we just kept thinking, well, we're residential. That's almost always what we do. And then we realized because of some big contracts we do D.R. Horton, which is a very large builder. We have the lion's share of D.R. Horton in the state of Utah. And so that's like 20% of our company right there. And we realized how much of that is actually commercial application. And then we also do the Costco's. So when you go through the exit aisles in Costco's and you see garage doors, if it's in Utah, you're going to get us. Some of those things were affecting. So that in and of itself makes us really big on the install side. We're very install heavy. I mean, maybe 20% of our business is service. It's just straight service, whether it be commercial or residential. And then when you add in all the different brands, the panels, the colors, I mean, forget it. Almost everything is a custom order. And we don't get most of them for anywhere. I mean, 4 weeks is a small wait. It's normally a 6 to 8 week lead time and sometimes more. I think projects are really great for companies that have a lot of installation. If you're taking deposits, at least this is our application. If you're taking a deposit and not getting the rest of it for weeks, it really helps clean up the books. And also if you do jobs not in the traditional like service sense, like send a tech out, did a job, and we're done. You have to go back out to a site 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, not for recalls necessarily, just to get the job done. That projects help because then project costing came in and we were able to look and go, oh, okay, this is what made sense. As opposed to like, we made a lot of money on this job, but we lost a lot of money on this job. And we were putting them together in spreadsheets and calculating it, and project costing changes that. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, you read my mind. I really wanted to go into the application for payment process, and especially that AR issue in the past versus now. So can you tell people, what does this feature do, application for payment, and how's life now with this new feature versus before?
Yeah, so application for payment it's changed it because it takes care of the deposit issue for us, basically. So we require, anytime we have to order material of any sort, we either commercial or residential, we get a deposit. If it's residential, you call it a deposit. If it's commercial, everybody knows you get the material and then you turn around and you prove that you got the material and you bill. That's the application for payment, but it's the same system. So on the residential end, this is actually the first thing that we did that changed everything. And that's why we jumped onto projects. That's why we got fully into it. So we knew that if you go and you sold a proposal and you sell a proposal, it automatically creates a project. So we already kind of had access to it. And so what we started doing is back in the day, 18 months ago, our original style would be we would sell an estimate, we would book a job from that estimate, and then that would pull everything over. So if you had a proposal for, say, $1,000, then you would book the job. It'd all come over onto the invoice, and we would have $1,000. And so we'd call the customer, we'd apply a payment for $500, and there you go. That was problematic, again, because number one, said we owed customers money. And then the other problem with it was what if we completed the job? And especially on a garage door, I mean, some of these are $20,000, $30,000 jobs, and that's not uncommon. So it's very, very hard to play the game of what if you're missing like one small piece. So like seal's a really great example. We might have everything done, but we didn't do the seal. We had this idea that we should call the customer and say, hey, we'd like to collect the other, $400, and $100 you can pay when we finish it. But that was hard to track. We tried doing some things with Excel spreadsheets, and we tried that. It wasn't really working. And so we had these thoughts, and then projects came out, and we sat down in Pantheon and we went, oh, hey, that works. So what we do now is we sell the estimate, and instead of booking a job, we do, the word has changed a couple of times. I think it's procurement. So the other advantage to procurement is in our old system, the purchase order was the manual part, and that's scary. Right? Because you would go estimate, and it used to go estimate automatically into job. And then you had to manually go in and make sure that everything you copied and pasted or typed matched exactly what you needed. Now procurement is automated, and we don't have to put it into the job because it lives in the project. That's, another side of it. So it made our purchase orders automated. So it eliminated a lot of human error right there. So that was one of the kind of the hidden bonuses. So it is doing like custom ordering, projects, because it eliminates that error, and it's great. The other thing, and so we do procurement, and then we do have one extra step. And so we have to go in, and now we do a application for payment. Getting everyone on a residential side to switch their brains and go, application for payment, aka deposit, in a residential sense. And so you just go into the application for payment, and there are a few different ways to do it, depending. So on a residential side, it's great because there's a line, you just click it and you say bulk edit, and I want 50% of this. You review it. The first time you see it, you kind of go, I don't want this information. You can ignore that. The residential side, of course, and then you just generate the invoice. And so what it does is it automatically generates an invoice for, in this case, 50% down, because that's what you asked it to do. So now you have an invoice you can send to customers for a deposit, or you can, most of our customers don't even want to see the invoice. Like my construction managers do. My construction companies want to see that. So side note to that, we actually used to make those by hand.
Oh, wow.
We used to go in and like manipulate with Adobe the invoice to say things, because we couldn't, if we changed it in ServiceTitan, we might never collect the other half of that money. So we used to go in and manipulate them with Adobe and send them out. And now we just have the application for payment. So we make sure it says what we want it to, depending on if it's to a contractor or a customer. And we just say like, deposit for 50% down, and we can send it, or we just apply their payment. So what that does is it does not, it doesn't ever show up on the AR as long as they pay it. It also is a great way of tracking. If it's there, it does show up on AR. So let's say you send it to a contractor and he doesn't get back to you. I always give them 15 days, but it is a wonderful, actually, little bonus tool to go on the AR and go. So every once in a while, our accountant will be like, it doesn't look like there's work done. Why do they owe us money? That was at the beginning. And now she's just like, oh. And so now she'll actually call for us and say, hey, Billy Bob, looks like you have an invoice here for a deposit. Did you want to get that going? Because if you don't, your door's not on order. So it's been an extra little bonus to have that going on. The biggest, I guess, change, it was a challenge, was that when you just do it on the job and you complete the job, then it automatically goes to AR, right? And that seems great because the job's done. They owe $1,000 more. Life is happy. You move on. Seems great. It's problematic. Because again, we can't track like, oh, we only want to pay them 400, or we only want to collect 400. We'll leave the other 100 later on. Can't track that. What if you finish the job and your tech needs to get paid, but you do have to go back out and do something, and something's not done? Even if you wanted the customer to pay all the rest of their money, how do you remember the panel that got dented and needs a warranty panel swap? Like, how do you remember that? And so then we were running into the problem of the job was completed, it was invoiced, and so the customer was getting billed. So then we did a workaround. We created this label that said, oh, don't call. And then inevitably what would happen is no one ever would take off the label and nobody would ever call. And all of a sudden it'd be 6 months to be like, well, I haven't been paid for that job. What application for payment does is we instituted a process. And this is where, when I say we redid it, we redid it. We have project statuses and they're set. You can't change them. You can't mess with them. They are what they are. But they have customizable sub-statuses. And so our sub-statuses control all of our project workflow now. They control everything. And so we create projects and it goes through a flow. And to take care of the application for payment, one of ours is ready for AR. And so the operations team is in their review that they are conducting, every day of yesterday's work. As soon as they know a job is done and they make sure everything is just the way they want, then they go and they say ready for AR. And then they move it on. And then our accountant knows, oh, okay, I'm going to go make my final application for payment. They just click. If it's residential, it's easy. Bill for remainder. And it creates the invoice. And she sends it off like any other invoice. Job done. And we also now have a solution too, where if like the install manager is going through is like, well, yeah, I want to bill for all of this, except for we have a substatus, which is additional application for payment. And they will go and task the accountant and say, hey, this is the situation. We want you to collect the remaining of the 50% remaining. We want you to collect 40%. Please create an application payment for 40%. And, we'll get them scheduled. And so now instead of tracking it with Excel documents, we have that side. So it has been great. It was a challenge to kick it off. It wasn't impossible. It wasn't difficult. It just time consuming, but I think it was great because it helped us catch a lot of our mistakes. A lot of things that I knew our flow wasn't maybe right. The process wasn't quite what it should be. We really ironed out a lot that way on the residential side. So I would definitely recommend if you do a lot of installation or a lot of custom ordering, this is the way to go.
Wow, beautiful. I'm just so glad you guys got rid of the Adobe manual editing. Oh my gosh, that sounds so painful.
It
Um,
was. Especially like when you forgot to edit like half of it. Like you think you were good and it would have like the full balance at the bottom. It was bad. It'd be pretty bad sometimes.
oh my gosh, yeah, it's so much better now. So you guys used application for payment, applied it to the residential side
Mhm.
first, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then how about for the commercial side?
So for the commercial side, as we talked about, got a great estimator. First time, we won a bid and we were comparing it to, we had done a big project in 20, wrapped up middle of 2024. And it just felt like the most like pulling teeth on the planet because we didn't understand. They kept saying, well, do you want to, literally sends an email. You have been approved for an application for payment. Would you like to apply for payment? Would you like to submit? We're like, what? Why? We didn't understand at all. Fast forward to the beginning of 2025, the first time we opened the portal, we went, oh, this is the application for payment. Oh, this is what this means. This is so perfect. This makes sense. That part of it was really great to realize how much we had learned through ServiceTitan that applied in the rest of the world, not just our ServiceTitan bubble, but that applied to other things. I think it made it better for us, one from understanding standpoint, but also it made us feel more confident in going after these things. It also financially makes it more viable, which I realize what I'm saying will not surprise anyone in commercial construction. Just know this was a small part of our business, 2%, now 15. So we learned a lot of hard lessons along the way, but realizing that, like right now we've got a $500,000 project out there. And so using application for payment, we can say, okay, well, and using project labels, and we are one of the companies that use them like the Wild Wild West, but we do use them for their actual purpose as well. So we will go in and say like, okay, like this is your equipment, this is, an equipment rental, and it's very easy using application for payment to go and identify quickly all of these things. So for example, if I'm going to have $100,000 in material delivered and once I get it and I get the bill, I'm going to do the application for payment. It's very easy to make what I see in these construction systems that our contractors use, like Procore, Building Connected, and those other ones. It matches my ServiceTitan. So it's very easy to go to application for payment and go, okay, this is for material, check, check, check. I want 100% of this because this bill's due. We submit our application for payment. Now I understand what that word means even. Didn't understand when we started this. So it gives us even more of the cash flow and the confidence, I think, to do it. When the whole team isn't griping about it, and every manager and every director and everyone isn't complaining about how hard this is, and everyone's like, oh no, this makes sense. This is easy. It really does make it easier to feel like on the sales side, like, yeah, we can keep going after these because when your team's not happy, they come back to you and they're like, why'd you sell that? Why'd you do that? I'm like, money's good. Business, hours, I don't know, all these things. But when it flows for them, it's been great. And the other thing I think with application for payment that helped is up until recently, the sales and marketing team, we've actually so we're sales marketing office is what I'm in charge of. We've held on to that as a responsibility. So it has been ours. It's the one thing our accountant was not billing. They weren't doing it because everybody would just go, oh, this is hard, makes no sense, here, take it back. And they would push it back to us, which is not the most efficient thing or the best thing for the company. And now I have finance and account. So we have a way of saying because of projects, and we'll get into submittals, I guess, in a minute, but there's a way now for the sales team to come together and say, okay, this is everything we have to do for submittals. This is what's required. Here it is uploaded. We can communicate with operations and who we need to so they can do their part. And then there's in ServiceTitan now, we just have a nice way of passing it on. So instead of having Google Drive, Shared Drive, all these docs, who had it, who forgot to share it, it just all lives in ServiceTitan. And so we all just have access to it. And then it's easy because of application for payment now for accounting to look at it and go, oh, and so now operations can say, hey, will you please bill for, we had some equipment rental and we did some labor. A lot of our jobs are out of town. And so we bill for everything with the hotel and the labor and the travel tag. And they can be in our account. It's like, oh yeah, we can do that. And then they just bill. And so it's so much more efficient. And again, it just inspires you to keep going after it because it feels scalable. Like this feels like a sustainable thing. And yes, we might need 3 accountants. Yes, we eventually might need, I don't know, 10 accountants and, 100 guys. but it feels scalable instead of everyone has to come and ask me everything, or everyone has to go and ask our operations director for everything. I can address 5 projects at a time. I would not be able to address 100, but with this system, I think we can. I hope we
Wow.
can.
That is amazing. And it's such a good insight into if someone wants to like start to step into using projects, maybe application for payment is like one area that they can
Yeah.
start off with. How does submittals fit into this workflow?
So submittals, I don't have a residential application for it. I don't know. Ask me, Pantheon, let's talk. Maybe I'll have found one by then. Submittals are great, as I've kind of alluded to. None of us have a construction management degree. And so these are things that I know people go to school for. None of us did. I went to school for marketing. What we've learned is that some submittals need to come from the sales team, right? They might be, so our submittals might be things like brochures or warranty information, even drawings that we get that come with our estimates from our manufacturers. And so it again gives us submittals is a section of projects that you can have turned on. And for the residential side, you can set a project type. And so you can have like residential service, like we have residential service, we have residential replacement, then we have commercial replacement, commercial new construction. And so you can turn on and off submittals if you're afraid it will confuse people, or if you're big enough that you've got res people who will never look at comm stuff. I've got a couple of those guys. And so we have submittals turned off right now in all of our residential applications. So it's only turned on for my commercial new construction right now. But it is a section of the projects, and you go in there and we can upload. Right now, we list every single submittal that we need. And as we start hearing back from contractors, depending on who they are, what they're going to do. But even at this point, when we do the estimate, we're learning what submittals are always required. And so instead of doing the estimate and just, kind of crossing fingers, the information's right in front of you. So we just will upload it to ServiceTitan, to the submittals, and say, drawings, date, 2/17/2026, and we upload them, and there they are. But it's also good. I kind of alluded to bringing marketing or sales, I guess, and operations together. It's not on sales to do everything. We're not the technical people. A lot of the submittals we have to do are actual like geometry and how much height, how much headroom do we need? How much width do we need? What are the electronic applications? Like, what do we need to know? I don't know that stuff. I'm not in construction. I don't do that. For a long time, we would just try and chase everybody down. So you just run after this project manager, this install manager, this project manager, like, hey, I have a question. And then, of course, the worst would be one project manager would give you one answer, the other would give you another answer, and then their boss would give you a different answer. And it was your job to translate. And it was awful. What we do now with submittals is we can just say, this is what's required. There's an attachment thing. And so if they had a form to fill out that we were provided by a contractor, we just attach it. And then we're using the inner office chat feature. And so there's a little section where you can talk, and you get these messages and they pop right up. They're great. And I can say, hey, at Bob, will you please go look at the submittal I just uploaded, and you can connect it. We can also email people. So if you don't want to chat and have them look at their little bubble in the corner, we can send them an email that says, hey, at Bob, will you please go to this project and look at the submittals for this contractor? I need you to fill this out and do this. And then that way, one, Bob has to do it, not me. I don't have to translate. Bob does it. And then again, I've assigned Bob. It's his responsibility to do it. I'm not asking Bill and Bob and Frank what they want to do. I'm just saying, Bob, you figure this out. And if he wants to talk to, I don't know, Frank and John and whoever, then he can. So that's really, really helped because it all comes together. At the very end of the submittals, we have a task that says combine and submit and upload to. And we actually have tags on all of our contractors that tells us which. Are they using Procore? Are they using Building Connected? So then they upload them. So that's the last one. And so I can also go look at my submittals. It's great. It will tell you, we can set due dates on it. We can set priority. And then in the systems, if they disapprove of one, they kick it back. And so I might get an email saying, hey, this has been rejected because of this. And then I go back, we go into the submittals. And again, I don't have to worry about the fact that Bill and Bob and Frank can't access my email. I will go and say submittal rejected because this is this. See notes, I upload the contractor's notes, and then the process repeats itself. And I will say, okay, at Frank, will you please go and fix this and tell me it's done? And then Frank does, he uploads it, and then he sends me a message, hey, at Jen, it's done. Please go and resubmit. And so in the past, we deleted everything and only put the final approved submittals. We now actually keep all the iterations of all the submittals. And our very last one is a final submittal, and then we take that and we upload it to the documents so we can, yeah.
Wow. It really sounds like so much has changed in all the workflows and the communication and the confusion and and the efficiency gains. But you did say it was a process. There were some growing pains along the way. If you could go back in time and redo like onboarding all this new stuff, is there anything you wish you knew in the beginning to save some people some headache or maybe common mistakes people might have?
I think the biggest change was if I could retrain and redo like everything all over again, I would have had the reports up front and a lot of our safety nets up front to just make sure. Our system relies a lot still on people just making sure they're doing their jobs, right? Are they being accountable for their departments, their teams, their divisions? And so I would institute a final check. We've actually done that now where I get monthly reports sent to me. So each director, we all get monthly reports sent to us where we sit back and review and go, okay, yep, yep, this was done. It's not a spot check. It's more of a scroll down and go, that looks good, good. Oh, no. And it does take a few hours. On the residential side, it was a massive change to go from this concept of we're done now with the job and now we have to do something in order to get a bill, where it used to just be a tech completing a job. So while it saved us a lot of problems, and I still think it's worth it, it did create this new problem of, well, what happens if your accountant never makes the bill? What happens if your technician or your manager who's over like that team of techs never moves the job status along? And so now we have different levels of management that are now responsible for going through reports and just checking baselines. And so if the baseline's off, instead of just jumping to, oh no, we need more work. Wait, did we bill everything appropriately? Did we take everything from our channel and have we successfully passed it on to the next channel? We call them channels. So have we successfully passed it on to the next group, the next team? That'd be the only thing I would do was I would have those fail safes in place instead of just assuming that everybody would understand how vital they were. I'd have some of those set up, but that's probably the only thing I would change.
Awesome. I know project financials is something that we mentioned the last time we talked. We might have to have you back for your third appearance one day, but that's a whole other episode topic. So we'll save that for the future. But thank you so much for coming on today. I'm sure this will open people's eyes to like just new ideas and ways to do this. And it's really unique because you're able to set up the sub statuses and really make projects fit for your unique business. And even though if someone's not in garage doors, I think this can give them some ideas of how to improve their workflows.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's a lot of work at the beginning, but it's like everything in ServiceTitan, right? It takes a lot to set it up the right way. You got to do some retraining, but it's changed things for us. It's definitely worth it in the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.